Here we go. Let's start. What's the difference between a large pizza and a stand-up comedian? A
That's
pizza
oddly.
can feed a family of four. I'm Mark Masters, and I'm going to talk to you guys today. I got some asks. I'd like some feedback on this presentation. I'd love for you to think about your network, places I can perform, companies or nonprofit groups where I'll waive the fee and do the work pro bozo. And I'm probably the worst person on this call at marketing, so any feedback in that area is very welcome. Let's get into my story. I'm on a 10-year journey to become a professional comedian. I can think of nothing cooler than to make a living telling jokes, making people feel better around the world. MIT, Harvard, Stanford, they all agree that as adults we need to laugh more, and when we do, we biologically improve our well-being. But how does one go from zero to comic? How do I become this delivery agent of positivity? By failing over and over again. They say practice is what it takes to get to Carnegie Hall, but failing is what it takes to get on Comedy Central. And this isn't a new idea. Generations of comics agree. A comic that I respect was asked, "What makes you so good at comedy?" And he said, "Nothing. I've just done it 1,000 times." So I'm on a journey of 1,000 failures, and with every failure, I get just a little bit better. People always want to know if this is glamorous, and while it's true that sometimes my homework is watching Netflix or going to a comedy club and having some drinks or even hanging out with very famous people, 99% of this is 2 steps forward, 1 step stuck in a sticky basement bar. I spend a lot of time waiting at lonesome venues, sometimes 3 hours for 3 minutes, a low quality stage time. And then there's the travel. You know those little shampoo bottles, those little miniature things? They don't have those when you sleep in your car. Sometimes this can get me down, but I always look for a silver lining. Once I was in the middle of nowhere, Utah, of all places. Look at that. And unlit rest area, and I woke up to the most amazing sunrise I think I've ever seen. It was like being on Mars. It was very cool. Let's talk about marketing a little bit with a story. When I was a little knee-high cotton top, my parents asked me to get dressed up for a special occasion, and the results were special. I particularly like the untied shoelaces, and the belt is a nice touch. This photo tells me a couple things. One, I can be funny when I don't even mean to be. And two, I don't always care what people think about me, which is an important attribute for an entrepreneur. As a comedian, it means I'm never afraid to be the hardest working person in a room, which is great for marketing because what I lack in knowledge, I try and make up for with volume. So Mark Masters Comedy is on the web. It's on the Twitter. I have a YouTube channel with content and over 100 subscribers. I wrote a book about my first 6 months of comedy, and I sell it in person, online, in bookstores, even when it means negotiating with a cat. I have a philosophy about fans that's long tail. I prefer deep connections with a small group over lots of ephemeral social media followers. So once a month, I pour my heart out with tales of woe and sadness and occasional successes. This keeps my fans connected with my journey, and it saves me money on therapy. I also have a store for my fan base, which at the moment is connected to the fan on my desk, but I hope one day will be a real thing, maybe because I write a lot of handwritten notes, send them out, and this has resulted in stickers from Seattle to Bozeman and books in the hands of fans from a beach in Hawaii and a bar in Chicago. But my most important product will always be me on stage telling jokes, which 2.5 years into this 10-year journey is the stage time can be elusive and largely driven by luck, which I believe we make on our own. For example, this February, I lucked into an opportunity at a sold-out show at a famous comedy club, and I was ready. I told jokes and got hit with waves of laughter to the chest from a rowdy audience, 350 strong. Afterwards, there were high fives and photos. I was 2 years in. I was feeling ready for anything. And then something a lot of us weren't ready for. And like a lot of people, I had to adjust. I had started a show 100 miles from where I live, and it started slow but snowballed into one of the better shows in the state. And it was very sad when I had to cancel months of booked shows. But by the summer, I had pivoted and was back online. I could work with 6 comics in 6 different states, and nobody knew or cared if they were wearing pants. They just knew that they had great TV credits. I needed a way to fail online, so I started a Friday night show called Comedy Test Kitchen, and it's now hosted comics from 5 continents, 8 countries, 21 states. And in the middle of a pandemic, it's given me one of those silver linings. If you remember this slide about my dream, recently I was in an illegally parked car with 40 people on YouTube watching, and audience members from Mexico to Malaysia, and comics from Australia to Zimbabwe. We were all goofing around, having a great time, laughing, getting healthier with the power of laughter. Well, I'm Mark Masters, and here are my asks one more time. And I'd love to talk to you, Provo, Utah.
Hey, Mark, this is Amy. I'm going to chime in here. I'm online. Great presentation. I was laughing. I didn't unmute my mic because it would have taken over your mic. So
okay.
I can feel the funny from you. So I love that. And I think given the 2020 climate and temperature, we need more of that. So kudos, good job, and keep going. I was going to ask you about, a show opportunities. What about podcasts? Have you considered, turning that over into a podcast format? We'd love to have you back. And there's a dry bar here in Provo. I think it's still going strong. So that would be fun to have you back. But yeah, talk about kind of what your options are with podcasts, given the climate of 2020.
Yeah, quick plug for Dry Bar, by the way, that Comedy Test Kitchen. It's every Friday weekly. We just had Jeff Shaw from Dry Bar Comedy, and we're going to have Mark Yaffe from Dry Bar Comedy in a few weeks. So check out that show. It's free. Everybody needs some laughs right now. You just need to get the tickets. You can find them on my website. The podcast, great idea. I try and get out there and get on as many podcasts as possible. I was just last night, I recorded a podcast called the Clean Comedians Podcast. If anybody is a podcast nerd and wants to check out that, hear more about my story in a longer format, that will be out next week. Their latest guest was Alex Hooper, who was on America's Got Talent on NBC with like 30 million viewers. So I feel like that's pretty good company for me at my stage. I also did do my own podcast when in-person stuff was a thing. The basic premise was that I drove comedians to faraway open mics, kind of beginning comedians, and we talked about getting started in comedy. There's over 27 hours of those conversations on my YouTube channel, and you can also find them on whatever podcast app you use. The podcast is very creatively named. It's called Mark Masters. So you should be able to find that. You might have to add comedy into it or something. But starting a new podcast is a very good idea. I love it. I'm always looking for new ways to market. I've really focused a lot of energy on running the Comedy Test Kitchen and the Vail Comedy Show online. It takes a lot of bandwidth to do that. So I haven't had time to do a second season of the Mark Masters podcast, but it is on my to-do list, and I love that recommendation. Thank you. And thanks for the chat comments during the presentation. They perked me up as I was going, Amy.
So Mark, I love you. I think you're going to be the next Seinfeld. You're
all right.
However, this name thing is important. What did Adam get the privilege of to do in the garden is to name things. You get to the privilege of naming yourself. Mark Masters does not work. When I look up Mark Masters, I find all kind of different stuff. When I put Mark Masters into Google, it doesn't help. I need to find you because you're the guy I love. So what is your full name?
Mark Masters. And I'm on the first page of Google. There's a couple Mark Masters more famous than me that I'm trying to climb.
Yeah, you can't have that. Change it to Marcus Masters or Marco Window, what a Masters. Just make a name for yourself that people can remember, where you can have a .com, because you are a great, great guy doing a great, great service to this world, especially helping the young comedians. but you have to have a name that people remember. My name, everybody knows me here as Trey, but my full name is Trey Yeshua. I'm the only Trey Yeshua in the whole world. People can find me if they want to. Make sure people can find you if they want to, because they're going to want to, because you are really, really good.
Sure. Yeah, I love that feedback. Thank you. It's hard because I have 2.5 years invested into Mark Master, so it'd be difficult to pivot at this point. I do know that if you just add in comedy or laugh or any related word, which a lot of Google users are savvy enough to do, I will come up very first. And hopefully someday, I mean, there are surely lots of Jerry Seinfelds out there. That's a pretty common name. But there's one who's the most famous and the funniest. And I hope to one day be the most famous and the funniest Mark Masters, so it won't be any trouble to find me. But I love, what was your name? Or it was Trey. Sorry. Thank you, Trey.
A couple of things, Mark. I'm great comedic. I mean, I've got kids doing what you're doing. I'm concerned about a couple of things. Number one, you stopped in your podcast journey. Those who follow, that means you quit. And that just doesn't do well for you in the long run. So be very cautious when you stop and restart something, because it says to people who are going to book you, people who are going to look at you, it's like, hey, he quit. Because it's not current. If you start a podcast, you got to keep going or it's dead. And then people just, they won't refollow you and keep going. Even if it's just short presentations, you got to really be concerned with that. I like Trey's comment about Mark Masters adding value to that name. And, you know, like I said, yeah, you can become famous down the line as Mark Masters, but in the short term, you want to be maybe Mark Masters, you know, traveler, you know, the traveler comedian, or the, just add whatever you feel who you are now at this stage, you know, the working comedian, the trying to get there comedian. So people say, oh yeah, I want to look up Mark Masters, the working, the, you know, phenomenal, the hat wearer, the glass guy, the, you know, and so in time you can drop that. But in the short term, as you're marketing yourself, add value to your name, easy to find you, says what you do, you know, the starter, the comedian starter. And people go, what's that? Well, I help other comedians besides myself. And so then your story can be told. If it's just your name, I mean, there's an ego thing here. You got to worry about marketing. That's what you came to us for, is marketing. And that's going to help you in the market, is to have that tag with you, add value, not just change your name, add value to your name. And as you become as your audience gives you credibility, then you can drop everything except your name. But see, right now you think the audience is going to keep your name. They don't. You know, Seinfeld got his name because the audience gave him that. Okay. You know, comedians get their name because the audience gives them that recognition. You can't give yourself, say, hey, this is me. You know that as a comedian, the audience gives you who you are. So right now, add value to your name and drop it in a year and a half, and then you're famous.
Nice. I love it. Thank you. I don't know if there's an Andrew on this call, but if you just subscribe to my mailing list, you made my day. So thank you, Andrew from Proceed. Anybody else is welcome to join as well. Here's some more feedback. This is great. Or questions.
As far as feedback, Mark, I love the way you look at failure. I think that's really important, and especially in the field you do. I mean, in any field, but especially in your field, it's where it's so hard to get so big and stuff. But I love the way you look at failure, and I think that's going to be a really helpful thing moving forward, looking at it that way.
Awesome. Thank you for the comment. Just a quick plug. My email address is on the screen. Send me a picture of your cat, or of just, hey, from Utah. I'd love to hear from you anytime. And if you think of something 2 weeks from now, I'd love to hear from you then as well, everybody.
So I would like to get the shout out that Andrew just got, and I go to your website and I can't find how to do that, so I could get my shout out too.
Okay. If up in the, I don't know if you're on mobile, or there's a join my mailing list.
Mobile.
Yeah. Guide you through it. If you go to that /help, there's a direct link. But from the main website, there should be a menu. Yep, there's a menu in the upper right. And then there's mailing list is the bottom option.
Okay. You can't see me, but I'm really old and I have gray hair and I'm not as big on technology as you are. So you got to make this a little bit easier. Thank you.
Okay. My apologies on that. If you want to say your email out loud, I can add you manually. Or if somebody can put it in the chat if they're familiar with that gentleman who was speaking. Or maybe Peyton can send it to me. When people speak in Provo, like in person, can you say your name when you start? I'd appreciate it.
Oh,
Hey,
hey,
Mark,
this is Joel. So I was wondering if you did any collaborations with other comedians for shows.
Oh yeah, all the time. Can you guys still see the screen? Like, can you see,
Yes.
if we go back to the slide, I have comics from every major network in my phone and work with all kinds of comics on shows and online stuff in person. And yeah, collaboration is key in this industry. Was that the gist of your question, or did I miss it?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. Thank you so much.
So
hey, Mark,
I just signed up for your deal and it says you're in Denver, Colorado. Where exactly are you? Because I live in Colorado part-time also.
Oh yeah, do you know the Tamarack area?
Tamarack?
Yeah,
Yeah,
near
I know well.
25.
So my sister was a social media influencer before social media became what it is. This was 40 years ago. She had a friend named Roseanne that
Yeah,
started her comedy career in Denver. So
sure.
I think I really can help you out. I hope to meet with you next time I'm in Colorado, probably around Christmas.
What was your name again?
Trey Yeshua.
Oh, you're Trey. Okay, sorry, I can't see people, so it's hard to tell. Yeah, definitely send me an email and just say I'm the Roseanne guy, or I'll definitely write you back directly.
okay, I'm going to step in here again, Trey. Sorry, not Trey. Trey's had his turn. Mark, this is Amy again.
All right.
We have a fantastic team member at RevRoad who does a lot of music professional. And when COVID hit, she and several of her colleagues created an online concert, and I think it's a weekly event where there's a COVID-friendly venue that was set up, and they were able to get video services in so they could live stream it out. There was a donate button. It brought a lot of the performers and artists, that's their livelihood when events were shut down, an avenue to still get their content out, provide a show, and also have a way to generate some revenue. So as you talk about working with other comedians, it could be something to think about, to consider. We don't know the end of COVID. We do hope that we can get back into some events at some point, and that will be great. But in the meantime, there's a lot of untapped talent out there that's not able to make money with what they're doing. So just a thought, putting together something similar and being able to give a platform, and that also allows others that aren't local to join in as well.
Yeah, Amy, I love that. I hope you'll tune in sometime. You got a little bit of feedback. You can mute while I respond. There we go. Great. I hope you'll tune in sometime to the Friday Comedy Test Kitchen, because we do get talent from around the world. It's pretty amazing. The last show we had audience members from Italy and Canada, and it's really neat, fun, artistic, and it's only 30 minutes, so it's a lot of fun. I love that idea. If that group is looking for short, clean comedy performances, I'd love to work with that group. So please send me an email, and we'll connect about that. And to everybody, really, I'm really genuine about this. I'm looking for places to perform. If Rev Matters, or I'm sorry if I butchered that name, want some holiday entertainment, or a company, or your grandparent is in a nursing home facility and they need entertainment. Like I said in the beginning, I can do that stuff pro bozo, and I've been doing some of those waived fee shows for there are a lot of lonely older people right now during the pandemic, and I'd love to kind of spread some joy, especially during the holidays. So no idea too small or too big. Just send me an email. It can be very short. It can be like, there's a coffee shop. They have a TV on the wall. Maybe you could contact the owner, Bill, and put on something for him. So.
All right, Mark, we have one last question for you, and that is, what can the RevRoad community do for you? 1 million cups community do for you?
Yeah, I love that. I have like 500 answers. I guess I'll just say the 3 things that are on screen right now. If you think of a way I could improve this presentation, email me. If you come up with any performance opportunities, email me. And if you a month from now realize there are hologram stickers and think that would be perfect for the Mark Masters brand, send me an email. I'd love to hear from you. You can obviously do free things to help me, like follow me on Twitter or YouTube, or join my mailing list and keep in touch. And someday I'll be in Provo, Utah. I've done comedy in Salt Lake City, and I'd love to see some of you in person when that happens. And I hope we can stay in touch until then. Thank you.